Indeed. First of all, a group of unemployed people in North Belfast will today launch a Right to Work, Right to Welfare campaign. It calls on government to do their job, create employment opportunities. They claim to have alarming research findings that highlight evidence on long-term unemployment, ineffective government back-to-work schemes, critical shortcomings in the benefits system. What's all this about? Sean Brady's development worker with PPR. Morning to you, Sean.
Morning, Stephen.
Morning to you. And the Employment and Learning Minister, Stephen Farry, with us. Morning to you, Minister.
Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning. So what's in this, Sean? What are you saying?
Well, the group has been carrying out research for the last 6 months at the Corporation Street Dole office, and they're releasing the figures today in their Human Rights Indicators booklet. What's been happening is that unemployed people are talking to unemployed people to identify some of the problems around unemployment and the benefits system, and they found some fairly alarming stuff, something Stephen may be interested in, that less than 5% of people are getting a job at the end of government back-to-work schemes, which is, by anybody's standards, a fair waste of money.
Less than 5% are getting a job after back-to-work scheme, Minister? That's a bit of a disaster.
Well, I think that may be a reference to the situation in Great Britain with their new work programme.
Sorry, that's a localised study. That's at the Dole office in Corporation Street. That's the figures we're returning from hundreds of surveys.
Well, the figures I have in relation to the performance of our own programmes would suggest differently than that, and indeed our programmes in North Belfast are actually working better than in some other parts of Northern Ireland, of course.
What would your percentage be, Minister?
Well, in terms of the Steps to Work programme, which is our main back-to-work programme for those who have been unemployed for a long period of time, we're talking about placing 25% of people into jobs. So that does stand in contrast to...
So your back-to-work scheme, 3 in every 4 don't go back to work.
Well, I mean... that may sound that's not a very high figure, but in comparison to what's happening elsewhere in these islands, it actually is good performance, and it's what we would expect that type of programme to be performing.
So one of you's got this dreadfully wrong.
Well, our survey is a sample survey carried out by speaking to unemployed people. Well, we've been doing a survey on people right at the Dole office for the last 6 months, and those are the figures that we're returning.
Well, if the figures we have, Stephen, would be based upon the actual performance figures coming through, whether it's actually from the jobs and benefits staff themselves.
National performance figures for Northern Ireland only, Minister, is that right?
Sorry, Stephen?
These are figures for Northern Ireland only, is that right?
Well, we have figures for Northern Ireland across the board, but we also have figures in terms of the performance of our jobs and benefits staff in North Belfast, and also the Bryson Future Skills, which are the Steps to Work provider for the North Belfast area.
So what other figures are you suggesting, Sean? What are your headlines here?
I mean, another is obviously long-term unemployment, and this gets right to the crux of the issue. Investment and job creation in areas of long-term proven need. 72% of the people we talk to are fit and able to work and haven't had a job for over a year, and a large amount of them, over half, are applying for 20-plus jobs in the last 6 months and not even getting a response.
Well, I think, Stephen, in some respects, let's move beyond a disagreement over figures and actually acknowledge that obviously we do have an issue with unemployment in Northern Ireland, and I mean, as Minister, I'm not running away from that.
Well, is it the worst unemployment rate in the last 15 years?
We have, and obviously, I mean, we've had...
You're the Minister presiding over that?
Well, this is an issue for the Executive and the Assembly collectively.
You're the Minister responsible.
I'm more than happy to come on your programme and discuss what we can do as a department in that respect. Obviously, we're coming from a situation where we've had major structural problems in the Northern Ireland economy. We've had long-term unemployment. We have the highest rate of economic inactivity. We also have issues where we have skills deficits. Jobs are being created in Northern Ireland today, Stephen. It's important that we recognise that. People are going through our doors and getting placed in jobs, but we have particular problems with long-term unemployment. We have particular problems with youth unemployment, and those in part tend to be a reflection of skills deficits, skills gaps, or in terms of young people not having the necessary experience to compete with older workers for the jobs that are available.
Sean Brady?
I think recognising the problem is the first step, and Stephen's done that. What needs to happen is that we need to address the problem, and it's not that this group or any other group of unemployed people are asking for the moon and the stars. There are systems and initiatives in place to target resources at the long-term unemployed. There are departments who are already functioning with social clauses in procurement contracts. There's $2 billion spent every year on procurement, and only a minuscule amount of that is targeted at long-term unemployment. What needs to happen is a wholesale change in how procurement is carried out, and that those funds are targeted at those in most need?
Well, obviously there are wider issues for the executive in terms of procurement, issues in terms of how quickly we can get capital investment moving in Northern Ireland to create jobs, how we can perhaps through a lower level of corporation tax increase the incentives for job creation locally. We also have, for example, a new employment programme coming online in Northern Ireland, Steps to Success, which will replace Steps to Work. And again, we're learning the right lessons from what's happening in Great Britain and avoiding the worst in all of that.
Minister,
I'm more than happy to sit down with Sean if he wants to make contact with the private office in the Department of Employment and Learning.
I'd say the group, I mean, that's what this is all about today. This group are launching their findings with a view to engaging with government departments, duty bearers of all descriptions, with a view to increasing jobs for the long-term unemployed, increasing the rate of services or the level of services in terms of the DHSS and moving forward like that.
OK. Sean, thank you very much indeed. Minister, thank you. Morning to you. 12 minutes past 10. So,